In this video, I'm going to show you how to trade crypto bots on Pionex. Pionex is a crypto trading bot platform with a bunch of different bots for different use cases. So I'm going to go over each one of the bots. I'm going to show you how to navigate the application, how to actually input the bots, and then some of the things you should be aware of because the bots do different things and have different risk profiles. So I'll show you all of that in this video. I'll leave the timestamps down below for each of the bots as well. If you want to sign up for Pionex, I'll leave that link down below. They often have sign up offers and bonuses as well. So I'll leave that link in the description if you want to follow along. Firstly though, I'll show you how to navigate your wallet and get some funds onto the account. Like I said, links in the description. If you want to come through, download the app, you can come through to this. So you'll just click on this box right here. It goes through to your wallet, which shows you an overview of your account. So you can see how much you have in trade and earn, which are two different sections of the app. So we'll click on trade right here. You can see which bots that you're running and how much of each asset that you currently have. And then on earn, it basically is a different type of bot. And so they kind of separate it here. You can see how much you have right here. But what I'm going to do is come and deposit. So we just click on the wallet again. If we come up to buy crypto right here, you can see you can just verify it. You do need KYC. I think especially in America as well, you will need KYC to use the app. So if you want to go through and put some credit card funds on there, you can do that. Just click verify and then put your card details in. Card is more expensive overall for every platform. So I'd suggest maybe depositing some crypto from a different platform if you have a lower cost exchange like Binance or something like that. Important to know is that you can put on any asset here. If you click up at the top, you can see pretty much every crypto asset. All of the large ones are going to be accepted here, but they do use US dollar Tether as the main stable coin for going into the bots. So you're going to have some Tether on here if you want to use most of them. So if you click on Tether, you'll see the supported networks down here. There's TRC20, ERC20, BEP20, and then these two at the right hand side. Most people are going to use these. So I'd recommend using TRC20. This is the Tron network. It's much lower cost. It's going to charge you about $1 to send, but obviously you're going to need support from the other exchange or wallet that you're sending from. ERC20 is Ethereum, supported everywhere, but very expensive. BEP20 is Binance Smart Chain. I'm going to quickly show you on Binance. So what I'd do is obviously, choose this network, copy the address, and then you'd have to go through to your Binance, and then you just obviously withdraw US dollar Tether, paste the address in here, and then select the network. You can see Binance offer a lot, but you're going to have to choose the BEP20 network right here, which is 80 cents, versus ERC20, which is Ethereum, which they charge $10, right? So, if BEP20 or Tron is available to you, then recommend those. But obviously just make sure you're using the same network on both ends so that you know it's going to get to the right place. Next, I'll show you the markets tab on Pionex, which is basically just a search engine for all of the different bots and trading pairs. So you come down to markets, you can see up in the top left, you can click spot. This is the normal market. So if you have US dollar Tether on your account, you can click and go ahead and buy all of these cryptos. You can see them here. You can search for them up at the top. You also have Bitcoin markets. So that would be spending Bitcoin to swap for another crypto. So the most popular pair is spending Bitcoin to buy ETH. You can obviously just search for all of these pairs here. This is just manual trading, not with bots. Then you can look at ranks. So you can see some of the top gainers and losers in terms of what's been doing well from the bots over recent period. Arbitrage we'll get onto, which is looking at what the arbitrage bots are doing and what coins are actually performing best in that as well. But essentially this is just a search bar where you can go ahead and trade. I'll very quickly show you manual trading then. So it's just like any other platform where you don't have to use a bot. Come over to trade down at the bottom. Up at the top, you'll see manual. If you just click on this, it will take you through to the manual trading screen. Right now it's Bitcoin, but you can click on this. It takes you back to that, that markets tab where you can just see all of the different cryptos you can buy. You can click on one of those and it will populate this screen for you, which is a, very typical manual order screen. So you can have a limit or a market order right here. Input the details that you want to trade at in terms of the price and the amount that you want to trade. It shows me my balance of Tether that I can spend to buy Bitcoin, press buy, and that's a manual trade. Again, if you are a real beginner, I'll leave some beginner's guides on how a manual trading screen works in the description. Next, I'm going to come to the first trading bot, which is a grid trading bot. Actually, Pionex has a lot of bots that are slight variations on the grid, but once you know what the grid is and how it works, you can then obviously use the other bots quite easily, just with the addition of a bit of knowledge. So I'll show you exactly how a grid trading bot works. They actually have this on their homepage, and it kind of obviously displays it really well. A grid trading bot tries to extract yield out of the market of a trading pair through volatility, right? So what does that actually mean? Well, what you can see happening here is that the grid bot puts a bunch of buys and sells in the market consistently over time to take advantage of the volatility in the market. You know, with cryptocurrencies, it's very volatile. It can move up and down 1%, 2%, 3% in a day. And so the grid bot is giving you a long position in the crypto, just like you would have if you were holding it, but it's also using some money to trade around the edges and try and take a yield out of the volatility. So what you can see is it puts buys in below the price and sells in above the price. But when the price comes back down, it refreshes those bids, right? So I'll show you exactly how this works right here and what the grid bot is for. So let's say currently the price of Bitcoin is 99. So you will put this buy order in right here at 99. It will put a sell order in at 100, right? But then it also has buys down here at 97 and 96 like this. So if the price, let's say you buy here and then you move down to kind of 98 and a half, you might put a buy in here as well. Now, if the price moves back up to 99, the bot will actually put a sell order in at this price. And so you kind of complete the grid. So this up to here, that's one grid, that's a buy low, sell high, and that's a profit. It doesn't stop there though. It just consistently puts buys in below and sells in above the price. So if the price is right here again, then what it will do is kind of wait for the price to come down, and it will refresh this bid and buy here again. And if the price doesn't move up, then obviously it will come down to this level, which will be a buy. And then because the price has moved down, this previous level here, you actually put in a sell order, price moves up, and then it will sell there. So hopefully you can see what it's doing. It's just consistently putting a buy and sell order in above and below the current price, and then other set buy orders way below and other sell orders above. And then it's just trying to extract yield out of small movements in the price over and over and over again. So think of a grid as extracting yield from volatility, as you can see here, but also really important is that it is supposed to outperform just holding the asset whilst giving you the same exposure. So if you want to go long Bitcoin, if you want to buy Bitcoin and have exposure to the Bitcoin price, you can do that with the bot. But the whole point of the bot is to try and extract extra yield out of the market that you wouldn't have got if you had just been holding Bitcoin itself. Now, there are many, many different types of grid bots. So I'll just show you the actual grid bot and show you mine first and how it works. So what you can see here is that I have a BTC bot. So I want exposure to Bitcoin. I want exposure to the Bitcoin price, and I'm long Bitcoin anyway, but I want to earn extra yield out of the market. So I'm long BTC against the dollar. And what you can see is happening here. What you should really look for is what the yield of the bot is, because this is giving me the same exposure as if I was just long Bitcoin and holding it in a cold storage wallet. So what you can see is the grid profit here is $14. Obviously not a lot. This investment is just for the videos, right? So, but what you really want to look at is the yield, the annualized yield, because that's what this grid bot does. It tries to print a yield out of the market. You can see that the total annualized yield is 12%. So I'm making 12% on my money from this grid bot, annualized. What's really interesting to see is that what you can see is I opened the grid bot down here to the left. After I opened the grid bot, the price of Bitcoin went up quite a lot. And so I was making a lot of money on the Bitcoin price going up, which is great. But the Bitcoin price has subsequently come down back to kind of break even. And actually it's in a slight loss right here. You can see that my Bitcoin position is actually down $7. But what's interesting is that because the grid profits have made $14, I'm actually still in the green. And so hopefully you can see what the grid bot is doing. It is giving me exposure to the Bitcoin price just the same as if I had bought Bitcoin and not used the bot and just taken it into cold storage. But I'm actually $14.39 better off because of the grid bot taking that volatility out of the market and printing the grids and printing that yield. So instead of losing $7.60, I'm actually up. Let's call it $7, right? So That is what the grid bot is doing. The main thing is, what is the annualized yield from the bot? That is the difference. That's the difference between holding Bitcoin and using the bot. If you're making a yield out of the bot, then it's making you a yield more than just holding the asset. Now I'll show you how to enter one of these bots, because there are many different parameters that you can use that affect the ultimate performance of the bot. So if you come down to create a bot here and then create grid bot, what we can see here is the grid trading and the AI strategy and the manual setting. AI is basically the bot seeing all of the best strategies that are working and basically just saying, hey, look, this is the one that's going to make the most money. So I'd kind of recommend just using AI. But you can see the smart parameters here and the grid profits. Now, over the last 7 days, the AI strategy has worked really well, and it's actually printed an annualized rate of 20%. Not 20% in those 7 days, but an annualized rate if it was to stay making that much money over a year. Over the longer term, it's actually making a little bit less money. 30 days is great, 42%. Over the last 180 days, only 15%. The longer you have the bot running, obviously the more normalized it's going to get. Over short periods of time, you can obviously outperform or underperform by quite a lot depending on how volatile the market is. So let's just use 7 days. Now what you can see here is the price range between 34,900 and 45,000. This is really important to understand kind of how it uses your liquidity and your assets. So I'll show you that right now. Essentially what we want, so the grid bot is telling us that 34K is the lower bound and 45K is the upper bound. So let's say that that's the actual price rather than my example. Anything under 34 down here, the bot will stop trading completely. Anything above 45 up here, the bot will stop trading completely. Now, this is obviously bad because if the price moves out of this range, you're not going to be trading the bot. And so it will just completely stop printing any yields for you. The upside of this is that what it does is concentrate your liquidity in a smaller price bracket. And so you have more funds trading and in and out. And so you might print a higher yield. So obviously this depends on you and what you want to trade. If you want to try and take a yield out of the market over the short term, use a much smaller price band. If you just want to let the thing run forever, use a much wider price band and just let it do its job. Now you can just do AI parameters, come down here, choose how much of your account that you want to put in and just press create. Or go over to manual setting, choose it yourself. What I would suggest is the lower and upper bound, you want enough grids in here. If you just have 2 grids, so like one at 34 and one at 45, then you're just going to buy down here and wait for about 6 months to sell up here, which probably isn't great. So I would choose around 100, 150, something like that, or just use the AI strategy and maybe copy some of the grids. You can see that AI is using 100 grids here, and then put your upper and lower bounds in as you would like. Now I'm going to show you the Moon bot, which is a grid trading bot, but it actually uses the system to basically choose a much wider range of prices for you. And this is more of a long-term bot rather than grid trading, which can be long-term, but it can also be short-term. Grid bot, create bot here, go down to Moon bot. You can choose either BTC or ETH. Obviously, which one do you want to be long, right? Which one do you want exposure to? Choose BTC right here. You can see you can't choose any parameters at all. Everything is automatic for this bot. You can actually see the upper and lower bounds. Currently, the lower bound is 15 and the upper bound is 150 for Bitcoin. So that's the price with 500 grids. This is a much more long-term bot. You're probably not going to make as much money short-term because the amount of money is spread out kind of over more grids, but this is kind of a long-term bot to take advantage of much wider swings in prices. So if you want a long-term bot, you just want to set it and forget it. The Moon bot is going to be better because the price won't kind of move up and below the bounds. The next version of the grid bot is a leveraged bot, and this obviously introduces a lot more risk. So I'll go through that now. I don't think the leverage bots are available in every country or jurisdiction, so you'll have to check that. I don't think they're available in the States. So if you are in the States, you might not have access to leveraged or margin bots. It's probably a good thing anyway, because they're really risky, or they do introduce a lot more risk, but some people do prefer to use them. Leverage grid right here. With leverage, essentially what you're doing is trading in the futures market. I mean, in the futures market, you get to borrow money. So let's say you have $10,000 on your account. You can actually borrow and leverage a position 10x your initial capital. So you have $10,000 on your account, your position could potentially be worth $100,000, right? Times 10. Super risky, because if you think about it, if you have a position that's $100,000 in size, a 10% move to the downside completely wipes out your entire account because you only have $10,000 on account. You basically have that $10,000 as collateral to pay for your loss. If it goes down 10%, you're wiped out. Of course, on the flip side, if you have a position that's 100K and it goes up 10%, you make a lot of money, you've actually doubled your initial investment, right? Because 10% of 100,000 is 10,000, your initial investment 10,000, you've doubled your money. So you can potentially earn a lot to the upside, you could potentially get wiped out in a day. So super risky and probably not for beginners, and definitely not for long term either. This is a short term thing. The reason why it's short term, you can see down here, current daily interest, 0.049%. You have to pay to borrow money. And so that has to be factored in as well. If you're borrowing a lot of money, you're going to be paying a lot in interest as well. But this is just a grid like any other. So lower bound, upper bound, choose the amount of grids, let's say 100. Or you can do profit per grid, you can update that. And then the amount of leverage here, you can see all the way up to 5x. You can actually do it just 1.2x, which is 20%. So yeah, you can choose that, choose how much you want to invest. And then some slippage control. I'll go through the advanced settings here. Trigger price, this is the price where the bot starts at. So if the current price is 40,000, you say, I want to start the grid bot when it's 39,000 and then start it. So you don't have to start it straight away. Stop loss price, really important when you're using leverage, is to say, I want to take leverage, but I want to basically, if the price moves against me, I want to basically sell out of the position at a loss and stop my account getting blown up. So you can see the stop limit price. Let's say you get in at 40, you can say at 38,000, just cut me out and just take my loss and start again. And then close, you can choose when to close the bot as well. Slippage control is just how much slippage you want per trade. So usually just put no on here because this is a centralized exchange, so you don't have to worry about it. But 1% maybe basically means if a bot is going to trade at a specific price, you'll give it a 1% window of opportunity to trade around instead of the exact price. And then grid mode, you can choose arithmetic or geometric. This is basically choosing if you want to, arithmetic is basically choosing a price. So I want to trade at 45, 45 and a half, 46, whereas geometric is percentages. So I want to start the bot at 45 and then I want each grid to be 1% difference. Doesn't really matter, right? It's just the same thing, just kind of different ways of saying it. So that's a leverage grid, definitely not for beginners, I would say, but for short-term trading, you might want to use it. Something I know that Pionex have actually upgraded recently as well is being able to take profits out of the grid without cancelling it, and also changing the parameters of the bot without cancelling it. So that was something that they hadn't done before, which was quite frustrating. But if you have a grid bot running, so I've got my moon bot running here, down here with the options, you can see release profit. That actually takes my grid profits out of the bot but keeps the bot running. That's really great. You can add an investment without cancelling and refreshing it, so that's good as well. Pause it and then edit price range. So if you click the edit price range, it will come up and you can change it. So absolutely perfect. You can edit that without actually having to cancel the bot like you had to do in the past. So yeah, a good upgrade for me with the usability. Now I'm going to get onto the arbitrage bot, which is completely different to the grid bot in that it attempts to basically take no market risk whatsoever. And I'm going to explain a couple of the different things you'll need to know about this. An arbitrage bot basically tries to take funding rates out of the market without taking a long or short position on any cryptocurrency. So obviously this isn't good if you want to be long something like these grid bots right here. It's good for me because I want to be exposed to the price of Bitcoin. But with an arbitrage bot, you won't be exposed to the price of anything. So kind of weird, but they call it an earn product because of the fact that you're not taking a risk position. So you can come to arbitrage here and then click create. Arbitrage actually has a couple of different ways. You can use the moderate mode or the aggressive mode. Aggressive mode just takes a little bit more leverage. Even though you aren't specifically taking leverage on the price, I'll kind of show you how this works. But in aggressive mode, you can see you can actually choose a bunch of different cryptos, pretty much all of them here. And then you can see how much the arbitrage bot is taking out of the market as an annualized rate. Obviously, the last 30 days, you can see that the ETH arbitrage bot is annualizing at almost 4%, Bitcoin just over 4%, but then you have some smaller coins right here that are actually yielding much more. Now, there's a reason why they're yielding more, and we'll get onto that now, which is basically how the futures market works with its funding rates. So it should be said that just because a bot is yielding a lot right now doesn't mean that over the long term it will continue to yield that much. It's very market dependent on how much yield that you're making from each of these arbitrage bots. So if we come back to moderate mode, you basically just have Bitcoin right here, I think, and you can see over the last 180 days. The annualized yield is around 7.55%. So just think of if you held it for a year, you'd make almost 8%, 7.5% yield on your money, whatever that may be. You can see over the last 7 days, it's actually lost a bit of money. So this just shows you that over the short term, prices are unpredictable and volatile. Over the long term, it seems like this bot generally makes money and makes a yield out of the market. I'll show you exactly why that works right now. So what we need to do is understand the two different markets that you can trade in and what this arbitrage bot is essentially doing. So this is a bot that tries to arb a risk-free rate out of the market. So let's say we're trading Bitcoin, 39 here, right? So Bitcoin is trading at 39.5. What we'll do is actually enter two different trades at once at the same price. So in most markets, you have two different kind of markets that most people trade in. One is the spot market, which is the normal market that you use money to buy something and own it. So that would be like using US dollar tether to buy Bitcoin. And what it will do is we'll enter a buy order in here at 39.5, and let's say we buy $500 worth of BTC. We actually have, let's say we have $1,000 on account like this. So you are now long Bitcoin. You're long $500 of Bitcoin and you own it. What it will also do at the exact same time and the exact same price is take a short position in the futures market for $500. A short position means you actually sell Bitcoin. So what you're doing here is buying, and what you're doing here is selling the exact same amount of Bitcoin. Now, what this is called is essentially a neutral market, a market neutral position, because if Bitcoin goes up 1% in the spot market, you own that Bitcoin and you will make 1%. But you also have a corresponding futures short, which means if Bitcoin goes up 1%, you actually lose money 1% here. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up, you make a profit there, but you make a loss in your futures position. But as you can see, 1% profit and 1% loss is obviously 0%. So as you can see, you have no risk position in the market. If the market goes up, you don't make money. If the market goes down, you don't make money. So you have no kind of position here. The reason why you would do this is because in the futures market, there's something called funding. Like I said, futures is where people borrow money. So what usually happens is that every 3 or 4 hours every day, you'll get a funding, and the funding has to be paid. Now, what usually happens is the rate to borrow money, at the moment anyway, is around about 10% as an annualized rate. And what happens is someone is paying that to someone else. So if you're short right here, then obviously you want to be paid that funding. What usually happens is that long buyers in the futures market pay short sellers. And that's why you're a short seller in the futures. Not always, but most of the time. So let's say we get to the next funding and longs are going to pay shorts. We will get this funding rate from the long buyers because we're short. And that is our arbitrage. We are net neutral for the position, not taking a risk position, but we are receiving that funding. Now, it doesn't always happen that short sellers get the funding. Sometimes short sellers have to pay long buyers the funding too. It depends on what the market dynamics are. Usually you're going to want an asset that has a lot of interest and a lot of buying pressure. Because if more people want to buy it, then they're obviously going to have to pay these short sellers, because the mark price gets kind of marked up over time, and that's when longs in the futures market pay shorts. So you're going to have to choose an asset that, in a general sense, is mostly kind of bullish over the long term, and that you as a short seller will get paid this funding by buyers in the futures market. So obviously you can have a look, if you go back to the app, which markets are doing great. You can see all of the previous kind of rates. So you can see ETH is yielding about 3.6%, Bitcoin 4.35%. You do not have a risk position in either of those. You're just taking that funding out of the market. Most of the time, longs do pay shorts, not all of the time. So you have to let the market run. And if you really are in a really horrible market where everyone's just shorting it and you're short, then you may not receive much funding over time. But over the long term, you can just see how much these are kind of arbitraging out of the market, and you can basically put your money in, if you want to get that yield. If you want to know more about the bots, come and join the public Discord server. I'll pin that as a comment. Lots of people in there using these bots right now, including myself, and you can ask questions and everything. Also, I'll leave the link to Pionex in the description. Like I said, they do have some deposit bonuses on occasion, or if you just want to go ahead and use the bots, that link is there for you. I'm James, it's Money's EG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.